Okay, so here we have a titration curve for a strong base, NaOH, with a monoprotic weak acid, whose volume is 25 ml. Okay. It says, what is the volume required to reach the equivalence point? Well, the equivalence point is going to be this vertical line here. So if you draw it to the x-axis, the volume is going to be 10. Okay. What's the volume required to reach the half equivalence point? If 10 is the volume required to reach the equivalence point, then half of that will be required to reach the half equivalence point. What's the pK of the weak acid? So you should look at the volume required to reach the half equivalence point, which we said is 5 ml. Link it to the curve, and now link the curve to the y-axis, and that's going to be about 3.1. So the pH on the y-axis at the half equivalence point is the pK of the weak acid. The pH at which the acid concentration is equal to the conjugate base concentration. That would be at the half equivalence point. So here at the half equivalence point, the concentration of the acid is equal to the concentration of the conjugate base, which we said was 3.1. The pH at which the acid concentration is more than the concentration of the conjugate base. That would be essentially any point on the curve on the left of the half equivalence point. So something like a 3 will do. Something like a 2.8 will do. Something like a 2.5 will do. So I'm going to write 2.5 to 3.0. 2.5 to 3.0. The pH at which the acid has less concentration than the conjugate base. That would be any point on the semi-horizontal line on the right of the half equivalence point. So any point on the curve here before we jump to the vertical line. So that could be pH ranging from 3.1, above 3.1 basically, all the way to 4. So I'm going to write 3.2 to 4. And now the molarity of the weak acid, we're going to write molarity acid, volume of the acid, is equal molarity of the base, volume of the base. Now, the volume of the acid was given in the beginning of the question as 25. The molarity of the base was provided under the figure to be 0.0200. And the volume of the base is how much volume is required to reach the equivalence point, which is the 10. And now, some simple math will give us 0.200 over 25, which equals to 0.008 molar.